Okay, the title is EFL Teacher Development through Collaborative Action Research Project. Outline. First, I'd like to tell you my story about how I learned to teach. Then let's have a warm-up activity. Okay, then I will move on to the literature review, then Q&A for the literature review. Then I will move on to my main study. Then I will be ready to your questions. If we have maybe extra time, maybe I can ask you this question. How can we create a teacher learning community which provides teachers with continuous learning opportunities? Okay, my story. I started my career as a high school teacher of English.
Sorry, Professor Sato. I think you need to share your screen again. Currently, we're just seeing the list of slides.
Oh.
So if you go into press share screen, then it should be an option to share the full screen version.
Whole screen version.
He just needs to go into presentation mode in the PowerPoint. There we go.
Yeah, yes, yep.
Oh. Is it okay?
No, it's gone back. So if you press share screen at the bottom, then there should be an option where it has the full screen of the slide. Or you can do it like this by individually clicking.
Is this okay?
Yeah, okay, that one will work. Yep.
All right, so I'll try this. Okay, so my story about how I learned to teach. So I used to be a high school teacher of English about maybe 35 years ago. Then after 7 years, I quit teaching because I was caught in a dilemma. I enjoyed maybe teaching in some elective classes where I had freedom to teach, so I could use, for example, movies, songs, or commercials, and so on. But in the regular classes, I have to use the boring textbook, and then I didn't enjoy teaching. I, joined many workshops, but I tried some new ideas, but none of them worked well. So I gave up teaching. And I went to Australia and started my MA TESOL study at the University of Queensland. Also, I had a chance to teach Japanese as a part-time teacher in a university. I still remember my first class for beginners. I was nervous, so were my students. I started my class introducing a Japanese song. Ue o muite aruko, okay? Then after that, I moved on to the textbook, which I had to use. I still keep this book, Japanese for Everyone. Each unit includes a new grammar item, which I had to teach. Okay, it was a 50-minute lesson, so somehow I could finish and cover the unit. I thought I was okay. Then after the class, one female student came up to me. She looked a bit older than other young students, and she said to me, Yoshi, my nickname, I took your class because I want to improve my speaking ability. Please give us many chances to speak Japanese. I was shocked because I didn't know how to teach grammar, while giving many chances to students to use Japanese. Then I went back to my MAT program, and I found this book, Brown's book, which we use in second language teaching. I found out that there is a way to teach grammar communicatively. It was called inductive teaching in contrast to deductive teaching. However, I could not find any activities or communicative activities in several Japanese textbooks. So I have to create, activities by myself. So every night I spent hours thinking about creating, new activities, communicative activities. The following day, I tried out. I failed many times. But one day, I saw my students communicating in Japanese with all their smiles. I thought, this is it. So gradually, I learned to teach, and then, I could develop my teaching skills. After 3 years, I came to back Japan and started to teach English in a couple of universities. But those ideas and skills I developed as a Japanese teacher in Australia were useful in teaching English again. So this is how I learned to teach. I started an MA TESOL program in Australia. I learned how to teach grammar communicatively from Brown's book. Also, I created communicative activities and tried them out. So I learned by trial and error. Now let's have a warm-up activity. How did you learn to teach? Were there any useful teacher learning opportunities? Okay, Jared, is everybody back?
Yeah, it looks like everyone's back.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing your experiences about how you learn to teach. I think this is a wonderful opportunity, and then maybe more important than my presentation, but let me start my presentation. Okay, so let me share my PowerPoint. Okay, introduction. How teachers learn to teach in context has been the focus of general educational research for almost a century, and eventually a focus for teaching English to speakers of other languages, English as a second language, and foreign language communities. This study examined how EFL secondary teachers in Japan participated in collaborative action research and engaged in their professional development over 4 years. In particular, little is known as to how EFL teachers challenge their beliefs and implement innovative practices based on communicative language teaching through teacher learning opportunities. Couple of years ago, I found this interesting book by Teresa Woodward, Catherine Graves, and Donald Freeman. They are well-known scholars in the area of foreign language teacher development. This book introduces 3 previous studies. The first one is a classic one, School Teacher by Lottie. Okay. Lottie conducted in-depth interviews with 94 teachers from elementary, junior, and senior high school schools in New England, USA. And this is a well-known finding, the apprenticeship of observation. What is it? Students spent 13,000 hours in direct contact with classroom teachers by the time they graduate from high schools. So when they start their pre-service teacher training program in university, they have already formed their beliefs about how to teach. In short, teachers teach as they were taught as students and not as they were taught to teach. The second study they introduced is Michael Huberman's study. His research team interviewed 160 secondary teachers with 5 to 39 teachers of teaching experience in Geneva, Switzerland, to find out career circles of teachers. This is an interesting study, career circles. So it was something like that, but not clear, right? So, sorry, I summarized main points. On the left side, years of teaching, and on the right side, main findings. For example, career entry, 1 to 3 years. Main themes, easy or painful beginnings. Survival or discovery. Then after 4 to 6 years, stabilization. Then after 7 to 18 years, experimentation, activism, or self-doubt. Then after 19 to 30 years, serenity, relational distance, or conservatism. Finally, after 31 to 40 years, disengagement, serene or bitter. Okay. Another interesting finding is that attempts to achieve mastery of core facet of teaching. 39% of the teachers tried some experiment through trial and error. 22% of them tried personal research. 30% of them worked with a small group of colleagues. And 30% of them joined in-service training, and so on. In some, teachers work alone. So the issue is the need to increase the number and quality of colleagues or experts to whom teachers turn in. The third study introduced was Tsui's book and study. She conducted case studies of 4 ESL teachers in the same secondary school in Hong Kong over 1 to 3 months, using interviews, classroom observations, and examination of teaching materials. She found out that only one teacher developed expertise. Okay, the list of participants, none of them received professional preparation, means maybe MA program, but only Marina got a 2-year professional certificate in education. So only Marina could develop expertise by theorizing practical knowledge and practicalizing theoretical knowledge. The development of expertise in teaching is a continuous and dynamic process in which knowledge and competence develop in previous stages and form the basis for further development. I'd like to introduce a couple of other studies. Kurensosa in 1993 found 2 distinctive technical cultures, teaching cultures. One was routine, uncertain cultures, where teachers were uncertain about their instructional practice, but were engaged in day-to-day routine. The other was non-routine, certain cultures, where teachers were confident about their instruction and collaborated not only among teachers in their department, but with many teachers in the high school to discuss teaching, and where students and teachers involved themselves in more communicative activities, including grammar teaching. Sato and Kuransesa in 1999 researched 10 teachers of Japanese in Australia concerning their beliefs and practices about CLT, communicative language teaching, using interviews, observations, and surveys. Teachers had fragmented knowledge of CLT, although or they received some workshops about how to teach CLT. And their beliefs about language teaching and learning were based on their L2 learning and teaching experiences without relying much on formal knowledge. Furthermore, observations revealed that there were few communicative classes. Grammatical points were explained deductively without any contextual cues, followed by mechanical drills. Sato and Kuransesa conducted a year-long study in a Japanese high school with senior high school English teachers regarding how they learned to teach and understood CLT using multiple data sources, including interviews, observation, surveys, and documents. We found these main points. Number one, managing students and various work took precedence over teaching. Two, communication and collaboration centered on keeping pace with others and getting through the day rather than solving teaching issues. Three, it was particularly important to teach the same way for common tests and to maintain classroom management. The majority of English teachers reinforced traditional practices, ignoring national guidelines by Monkasho, although a few teachers tried out innovative ideas. Those teaching practices were little reported or shared, and innovation remained marginalized in this high school community. Now, research issues. As Huberman indicated, if teacher learning is restricted to individual trial and error opportunities without relying on formal knowledge, how can teachers develop their beliefs and practices? Two, there is no longitudinal research on EFL teacher professional development. So my research questions. Number one, how did EFL teachers learn to teach through continuous collaborative action research? Two, what did EFL teachers learn from continuous collaborative action research? Three, why did these EFL teachers have difficulty sharing their new ideas and working with other teachers for curriculum development in their workplaces? Now, definition of action research. Action research is simply a form of self-reflective inquiry undertaken by participants in order to improve the rationality and justice of their own practices, their understanding of these practices, and situations in which practices are carried out. This is a well-known model by Chemist and McTaggart. It's called spiral process, including plan, act, observe, and reflect. Okay? And plan, act, observe, reflect. Instead of going down, I think it should going up. Advantages of collaborative action research, according to Barnes. One, collaborative action research processes strengthen the opportunities for the result of research on practice to be fed back into educational systems in a more substantial and critical way. Second, they have the advantage of encouraging teachers to share common problems and to work cooperatively as a research community to examine their existing assumptions, values, and beliefs. Research issue. published studies of action research in ELT are still relatively small in number, and few were reported by teachers of action research conducted for their own professional development within a larger collaborative grouping. Okay, now I'd like to introduce the result of my study. Okay, this is a longitudinal study, so study 1 and study 2. Okay, study 1. You can actually have a look at this paper in my website. Okay, participants, 15 teachers, 1 elementary, 7 high school, or 7 junior high school, 7 senior high school, including 2 native English-speaking teachers, participated in the action research project in 2007. 10 teachers were enrolled in an MLTs program at NAUS, while 5 were not. Orientation program at NAUS. In May, we gave an orientation program, introduction about AR, identify issues and setting up goals, make an action research plan and a lesson plan, revise a lesson plan based on an advisor's comment, and try it out. Monthly report started from June to February. After a monthly workshop about a different topic, participants shared their reports and received comment from advisors and other teachers. Currently, this program continues. Currently, we have 3 action research groups, 1 for university teachers, the second for high school teachers, and third one for others. Midterm presentation in August, and then final presentation in March. Also, you can have a look at all the action research report from this website. Okay, data collection. Multiple data sources were collected, including interviews, monthly reports, midterm and final reports, also classroom observations. Okay, these are main findings. 1, all 15 teachers reported that AR was useful to reflect on how they taught. 2, 9 teachers reported that they received ideas from other teachers. 3, 6 teachers said advisors' comments were useful. 4, 12 teachers reported that they could improve their practices and build their confidence through continuous reflection through action research. 5, 9 teachers indicated some difficulties implementing AR, including adapting new ideas to their classroom context, finding appropriate materials, developing collaboration with fellow teachers at the same school, and learning how to make an appropriate survey. 6, 11 teachers out of 15 reported that they had almost no chances or talked with only 1 or 2 colleagues about new ideas. 7, only 4 teachers shared new ideas with other teachers in their schools. 8, only 1 teacher out of 4 could utilize action research for the curriculum development in his school. Now, study 2. This is a follow-up study over 4 years. So I chose 5 focus teachers. Midori and Hiroko with their senior teachers with more than 29 years of teaching experience. Tomoko had 15 years of teaching experience, and Momoko and Toru, they are novice teachers. Momoko used to work for a post office and then became a teacher. Toru used to be a music teacher. Then through distance education, he became an English teacher. Okay. All 5 teachers, regardless of years of teaching, went through similar stages. Okay. So this is a main finding. So I found 3 stages, regardless of years of teaching, all these 5 teachers went through. Stage 1, challenging teacher beliefs through TESOL classes and modeling teachers who have done similar AR through trial and error teaching as they practice communicative activities. Stage 2, making sense of teaching through adapting and modifying theories of CLT, at least 1 or 2 years. Stage 3, building confidence in teaching by actually seeing students change, at least 1 to 2 years. So these 3 stages are somehow overlapped, okay, but all these teachers, regardless of years of teaching, went through these stages. Now, let me highlight some of the teachers' interview comments. Okay, stage 1, challenging teacher beliefs through TESOL classes. 1, initial beliefs about language teaching, language learning teachers. 3 teachers answered. Midori said, I taught grammar explicitly because I didn't know any other ways. I just had my students prepare for exams by using many mechanical drills. However, 2 teachers did not answer, were not sure. For example, Momoko said, I did not have any clear beliefs. I just taught as I was taught as a student. Second, they learned theories about second language acquisition and second language teaching through TESOL classes and challenged their beliefs. For example, Tomoko said, I was shocked to learn that imitation is not effective in SLA. Momoko said, my preconception about language learning was destroyed. Three, however, they could not apply theories into practices soon. For example, Momoko said, I could not make use of the theories in my classes immediately. I put them into practices little by little. 4, all 5 teachers changed or developed their initial beliefs. For example, Hiroko said, it is important to reduce teacher talk and increase students talk. I also think student-student interaction is essential. I want my students to enjoy using English. Next, stage 1, 2, modeling teachers who have done similar action research. All teachers modeled teachers, other teachers who had done similar action research. For example, Midori said, I learned how to integrate speaking and writing from Ms. Takahashi. I modeled her. Next, stage 2, making sense of teaching through adapting and modifying. Hiroko said, I just tried AR without fully understanding it in my first year. In second and third year, I could increase communicative activities little by little. Another teacher, Tomoko said, with the positive survey result from the previous year's action research, I determined to increase communicative activities. I started communicative activities from the very beginning. My teaching was more consistent compared to the previous year. Now, stage 3, building confidence in teaching by actually seeing student change. Midori said, I was surprised to see that my students started to focus on communicative activities and none of them were sleeping in my class. They even got a better score compared with other teachers' classes. I mean, she was talking about term test, written test. I realized that This way of teaching was right, and I gained my confidence. Toru said, my students started to talk longer by using conversation strategies and write more in the second semester. That impressed me. Next, what they learned through continuous collaborative action research, reflection and continuous experimentation. Midori said, I used to quit using new activity once it didn't work well. Then through action research, I came to reflect on my teaching. I started to think why it didn't work well and how I could modify my handout. Next, difficulty with sharing new ideas and working with other teachers. First, about weak teaching cultures. For example, Tomoko said, teachers are busy with students' behavior programs and school events, so they are not concerned about teaching. Hiroko said, last year, I could share my handout with my colleague. However, she used them as she liked. She skipped some activities. Next, difficulty. Interestingly, Midori and Toru worked for the same high school where curriculum reform project started. It was a top-down curriculum reform. Midori said, this is a top-down curriculum reform project by the Board of Education. So there are teachers who are forced to do, they still think the project cannot prepare students for university exam at the bottom of their heart. Toru commented, I could collaborate with the same grade level teachers, but not with other level teachers. In addition to a weekly department meeting, we can talk about teaching whenever necessary. Now, I have to move on very quickly, right? Okay, discussion. I'll go very quickly. How did EFL teachers learn to teach? These 5 teachers went through 3 stages, similar stages. Number 2, what did they learn from the continuous collaborative action research? Continuous collaborative action research helped teachers form habit of reflection, experimentation, and learning from students. Number 3, why did these 5 teachers have difficulty sharing their new ideas? Tomoko, Momoko, and Hiroko reported they had difficulty working with other teachers because their colleagues were reluctant to change their beliefs about language teaching. Midori and Toru, working in the same high school where English curriculum reform was initiated, revealed that some teachers who believed in traditional teaching made it difficult to promote collaboration among teachers. Luckily, Toru could collaborate with 2 other teachers who worked for the same grade level. Consequently, they continued the project for 3 years and achieved the goals while increasing students' outcomes. Teacher collaboration can lead to improved student outcomes. Conclusion. This study identified 3 developmental stages, regardless years of teaching experience. Collaborative action research empowers teachers to be reflective teachers, and action research has a potential to be a powerful agent of educational change. Nevertheless, without developing collegial collaborative teacher cultures, innovation can be marginalized and curriculum development impoverished. Jared, I think I ran out of time.
Yeah, we have about 10 minutes before the next rooms start. Yeah, this was the scheduled time. So I think you can talk for a couple more minutes. That would be fine if you need to.
So I'm open to your questions, maybe a couple of questions. I would appreciate it.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment.
Hey, thank you.
I was doing my practicum, English language practicum in Germany, and I
Mm,
remember asking my professor,
mm.
I asked him, I feel like teaching English is quite easy. I've seen teachers do it all the time. And he said, forget how your teachers taught. Teach
Ah,
differently. And
I
that was really an eye-opener to me. And
yes,
I'm really
yes.
glad you kind of mentioned that. Forget how you were taught language, teach it
Mm.
differently. So.
Wow. Yes, I totally agree with yeah, your advisors comment. Mm. Yes. Any other questions or comments? So if you are university teachers, please read my paper about how I worked with my colleagues to develop a coordinated program here at NAFS.